In this edition of Art Rocks, we visit an artist who enjoys the challenge of painting at live events.
For me to go into different venues and expose the public to that and get paid for it is amazing. I'm in my zone at that point.
Check out the nation's only Spanish-speaking conservatory.
Then you give access to these artists to be the best they can be in the language that they're most comfortable speaking.
Learn the joys of getting lost in the music.
I really am in my own world of just me, my piano, and the music.
And meet a surfer dude turned skilled master craftsman.
The biggest challenges I think I face making the skateboards is to continue coming up with new designs.
It's all ahead on this edition of Art Rocks.
Art Rocks is made possible by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and by viewers like you.
Hello, I'm James Fox Smith, publisher of Country Roads magazine, and this is Art Rocks. We begin today with the story of a young artist whose skill at drawing was evident at an early age. Painter Christopher Turner is now the curator and the artist in residence at the Cress Gallery in Baton Rouge. For Turner, painting at live venues has brought exposure and continuing opportunities.
My name is Christopher Turner. My two styles of art are contemporary abstract and French Impressionism. I'm from Baton Rouge, and I've been an artist for 22 plus years. Pretty much as a kid, I always just was drawn to characters such as like Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and stuff like that. So I used to sketch all the time. I used to draw things, and my mother kind of caught her attention. It was at Broadmoor Middle School summer program. I never forget it. The head teacher over that summer program was a gifted and talented teacher, and she pretty much told my mom about the program. I enrolled in talented art around 5th or 6th grade. That was kind of like the foundation that I had our introduction. It was a good introduction because we had shows throughout the year. I got to pull from different teachers that taught at colleges or, that were graduates of institutions. That was a lot of my exposure to the art community, especially locally and statewide. I grew up in a musical family. Henry Turner Jr. and Flavor. Henry is my uncle. I grew up around musicians, so people like Tabby Thomas, other blues musicians, other pop musicians, Slim Harpo. His house was actually 2 houses over from my house. So music is a big inspiration for me. When I paint, I listen to music. I listen to jazz, blues, gospel, R&B, instrumental music, just depending on, what I'm feeling at that time. I think you have to continue to be a student of your craft. I always kind of reach out, always go see things, always do things to kind of push your craft or motivate yourself. I added an aspect to my career which was live painting. So for me to go into different venues and expose the public to that and get paid for it is amazing. I'm in my zone at that point. I'm in my place of relaxation. 93,000 people is not going to bother me at that time. It's my go-to place. Outside of family and all of that, it's one of my first loves. The Cress Gallery project has been amazing for me. My partners and I, we decided to take over operation. The gallery was ran by the Arts Council for a while. I act as curator, and I act as artist in residence. So I'm always out looking at art to try to fit into the gallery motif, and as well as incorporate my own style or what I feel like hanging at the time. It's been a great venture. I never thought, setting out, starting my own company, and that I would end up being a curator. I never saw that coming at all, but I've enjoyed it. You get to help other artists, you get to develop other artists, give an artist his own stage to kind of, let him be introduced to the public. So it's been great.
One of Turner's live paintings was sold to benefit the LSU band. His painting during the 2012 NCAA Final Four hangs in the NCAA Museum in Indianapolis. For more information, visit artbychristopherturner.com. Now, let's take a look at some of Louisiana's arts and cultural events in the coming week. For more information on these events, visit the website at lpb.org/artrocks. And to find more arts activities, check out countryroadsmag.com. Love reveals its true face in Cyrano Mio, a Spanish adaptation of the French original. Up next, we sit down with the cast and crew at Miami's Teatro Prometeo, the country's only Spanish-language conservatory, for a behind-the-scenes look.
Prometeo Theater is the nation's only Spanish-language theater conservatory. It's been around for 40 years and has produced amazing actors and playwrights and directors, and a really important part of this nation's cultural history as well. We're mainly a school, we're a conservatory. We have a very strong 2-year professional program. The idea behind it is to be able to provide a really strong education in the arts in Spanish as they would receive in English. And when you do that, then you give access to these artists to be the best they can be in the language that they're most comfortable speaking.
When I first auditioned, I took the class and I fell in love with my professors and with the program. I have taken acting classes but when I was little and in high school, but this was my first time taking classes as really deep professional and going into deep stuff about a character.
When I started, I just knew how to do little stuff on TV. But when you start studying theater, you go more deep. If you want to be an actor, you have to know theater at least, and you have to have the ground to be an actor. And on this school, that's what I found. I found a really, really good base because you have passionate people. They give you part of their souls.
We have 6 actors, they do 9 characters, and it's done in about an hour. It's a play about love. It's a play about wanting to express what you have inside but being afraid.
Desde aquella noche en la que con voz desconocida me mostraste tu alma bajo mi ventana.
The production is coming up with Cyrano Mio, and I play Roxanne. Roxanne, she's very passionate and romantic, and I'm like that. I'm very corny, you know, I like all the romantic stuff, the letters, the love letters, and the text. So, I mean, it has a lot of me.
Al aire al rojo el sombrero.
I'm Cyrano de Bergerac. Cyrano is a really deep character. He's a philosopher, he's a sword fighter, he's a poetry. He's a person in love. Cyrano is the fearless person. That's pretty much how we relate.
In today's age of texting and this and that and the other, sometimes you're trying to connect, but you actually feel more alone. And I think here it's really beautiful to see somebody really struggle for the love of another person and really find the courage to say that face to face, because that's the hardest thing.
Las lágrimas de esa carta eran tuyas.
Pero la sangre era de él.
The challenging part was to go through the whole process of the suffering because of loving someone. And this play, since I play a year after Cyrano's death, I have to go back and forth with my feelings. So I go from the present to the past. I have to switch from being crying to like the moment, just the memory of the person, which you cry, but it's not as much because it's been a year. It still hurts, but not as much as the past.
Bravo!
The fight scene is the one that I like it. We learn Eskrima for 6 months. We have a scene that I'm fighting with Valver. He's defending Roxanne's honor, you know.
Si es tan cruel, fuiste tan tonto de no ahogarlo en su propia cuna.
Lo intenté, pero fue en vano.
We do all our performances in Spanish, but there are English super titles. People start looking at the super titles at the beginning, and about maybe 10 minutes in, I notice that nobody's reading them anymore. and everybody's completely connected into the performance.
My friends always come when I have performances. My best friends, they always support me. We have the super titles, but they're not even reading. I'm like, Claudia, it's just the performance and your facial expressions says everything. They laugh, so that's a good sign for the, they're understanding everything, even if it's in a different language. Prometeo is soul. Prometeo, it's passion. Prometeo, it's the truth.
¿Qué es un beso al fin y al cabo sino un juramento callado? Una tierna promesa carnal, un deseo confirmado. Un secreto que en vez de a un oído se le dice a una boca. Una forma de saborear el corazón del otro y de respirar por un momento el alma amada. That's, some part of the poem that he says to her.
Come see Cyrano Mio. It's a wonderful play. It's a wonderful experience. Come and take a class and come and be a part of this family.
For more information, visit prometeotheatre.com. Up next, we follow the music to Denver, Colorado, where pianist Katie Mahan is ascending new heights in the world of classical piano. We sit down with the rising star and follow her development from enthusiastic student to world-class performer.
Music was always pretty much the center of my household.
When we wake up in the morning, she turns on music.
We always had music in our home, classical music.
My mom was a musician. She wanted to start me when I was 2 or 3 years old with the piano, but I didn't have a lot of interest, and then I attended a concert when I was 4.
And she came up to Bob afterwards and said, I want to be a professional pianist.
I decided from that moment that that's what I wanted to do with my life, and I actually started piano the next day, and it's always been my biggest passion.
And she's never wavered in this desire to do what she loves.
When I was in school, I was always known as the piano girl.
She would go to kindergarten in the morning and then come home and practice until dinner time. So 5 to 6 hours, and it was love. She was curious. We would have a lesson, and then she would want more. She performed for everyone, anyone that would come to the house. So her first recital was nothing more than just another performance.
My first recital was when I was 6 years old. At that age, of course, you don't really have any nerves. It's exciting, and I love to be out there on stage and be the center of attention, as a little 6-year-old.
Katie took it as a child that was just fascinated and gleeful, and she was so proud of herself, and she knew she could do it.
This is kind of my warm-up for every day. Music is putting ideas through sound, and to create ideas through sound takes imagination. The more variance that you can have, the more imagination that you can have. This amazing instrument has so many variation of colors and tones. There's a lot of sounds that can be produced by the piano that other instruments cannot produce.
The piano is, to me, a complete instrument. It's the orchestra in 88 keys.
An emphasis on colors is one thing that you really learn from French Impressionistic music. Creating colors in music is a lot like creating colors in art. You translate something that you see visually and something that you can hear, and with the piano there's so many ways to make colors. If you strike a piano like this, you have a very brilliant tone, so you could imagine that that's bright red. Or you can play it very gently and very softly. You have the same chord, but maybe it's now a lilac color. So everything depends on the instrument, how you touch it, whether you strike it or whether you push into it or whether you caress it, and also how you use the pedal, because you can have a very dry sound with no pedal, you can have a very wet sound, and you can also make it very quiet by adding a soft pedal. So my mother was my first teacher until I was 18 years old.
I believe my piano teaching influenced Katie in that I was always there for her. When she wanted to know how to do this chord or that chord, I was there for her.
Not only was she my teacher, but we did a lot of chamber music together.
We have done duo piano since she was 5 years old.
A lot of times growing up, a soloist spends all the time by themselves, you know, which of course is necessary with practicing, but I got to share that a lot of times by doing two piano with my mom, and you know, it was a lot of fun, and we've always had a nice rapport working together. I've actually been teaching piano since I was 13 years old. My first students were the little brothers and sisters of some of my mom's older students. I always have loved to teach. I think it's so important for any musician to do everything they possibly can to carry on the art, to carry it forward. My passion is being on stage, but I also love to watch young children start from the beginning and develop an interest in music and develop an interest in knowing who Beethoven is and who Mozart is. For me, some of the most important things in life are to know about Bach and Chopin and what they gave to the world.
When she plays, I go into the music. I don't watch her particularly. I try to just listen to the music and her performance of it.
I used to be the nervous father, and sometimes I would not even want to be in the concert hall when she was playing because I was afraid she would, make a mistake. I had my fingers crossed and my legs crossed and everything, and I've long since graduated from that. Now I can come in and I sit back and relax and absorb it all.
There's a happy medium between corresponding with your audience, making sure that they are a part of the whole music-making aspect, but on the other hand, to really communicate what you want as an artist, you have to create your own little world up there. And so, when I perform, I really try never to look at my audience directly. I really am in my own world of just me, my piano, and in the music. When I walk out on stage, I give everything of myself. It's my favorite way of communicating, actually, because I can share all the emotions that I have, and beyond that, I can share the music that I love and help to keep it alive.
She plays with so much passion and sensitivity. It's just a joy to hear her.
I always have felt so blessed to be a musician, to have this gift, because music is something for every possible feeling that you can have. It's just such a wonderful gift for the soul and for the mind.
It's just been one long journey of joy.
The point of music is it's a reflection of time and people and emotions, and I think everything that you have in life, it can be included somehow in music. And so when I play a piece of music, it's not just notes and sounds. It represents everything that I am, and it represents everything that I believe, and I love it so much that I want to share that passion that I have with my audience.
Now let's take a moment to celebrate another Louisiana treasure. Each week on Art Rocks, we celebrate and examine an artistic or cultural element with unique ties to Louisiana. This week, we're focusing on the Louisiana Hayride.
In Shreveport, Louisiana, post-World War II, the hottest show in town was held every Saturday night at the Municipal Auditorium. Beginning in 1948, KWKH broadcast a 3-hour country music radio program over its 50,000-watt clear channel, reaching 28 states, as far north as Chicago and west to Los Angeles. Although other radio stations had imitated the format of the Grand Ole Opry, which had been going for 25 years, the Louisiana Hayride seemed to feature a wealth of talent. So many country singers and musicians got their start on the Hayride that it was called the Cradle of the Stars. The list of country artists from the Hayride's roster includes Hank Williams, Johnny Horton, Kitty Wells, Webb Pierce, Farron Young, Jim Reeves, George Jones, and Johnny Cash. But the most famous performer who got his start there wasn't really a country artist at all. Elvis Presley was signed to a contract in 1954. But after 18 months, it wasn't enough to keep the rising star in Shreveport. Elvis and his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, bought out his contract for $10,000. Having Elvis on the show was not such a reach when you consider that the Louisiana Hayride was not simply a copy of the Grand Ole Opry. The Hayride featured new artists and up-and-coming talent. They also accepted new musical innovations. The Hayride embraced the electric guitar, while the strictly traditional Opry banned it. When television came to Shreveport, the radio program transitioned into a TV show. Eventually, the weekly program that once drew a crowd of over 3,000 to the Municipal Auditorium on Saturday nights ended. Since 1960, the Louisiana Hayride has seen a brief revival in Bossier City and some special performances as recent as May of 2014. The Hayride will always be remembered for its willingness to take a risk on new innovations in music and to give unknown performers a chance to realize their dreams of becoming country music stars.
In our next segment, we meet a Florida couple who turned to skateboarding when the Gulf waves proved too calm to surf. And it wasn't just about the thrill for this daring duo. The two began crafting skateboards with such artistry, it wasn't long before their friends wanted boards of their own.
My name is Nick Lambiase. I'm a craftsman, and making skateboards is my art.
Longline Skateboards is a company that my husband and I started, and it just grew out of our passion for surfing, and which evolved into our passion for skating.
Growing up in Florida, we've always been around the water. We'd go out surfing, and I'll hang out in big groups and just be out there all together, and sometimes you can't go out surfing, so we started looking into these longer skateboards, and it gives you that surf ride, so took it to the street, surfed the sidewalk. I think I made my first skateboard when I was, I think around 9 or 10 years old. It took us probably 10 years of doing it to make that perfect combination of wood where not only was it flexible and strong in the same token, but also light.
No two of our skateboards are alike. Each one kind of has its own personality, and it's just, there's something about you have a product or a thing that no one else has. You know, there's definitely a cool feeling about that.
We press the wood together ourselves. It's a rough cutout, and all the boards are done in-house by hand. So all the sanding and everything is done by hand. And then staining or painting or anything like that. And we put them together and safely store them so they don't get all dusty in our very small shop, and away they go. Nick's
definitely a craftsman, you know, and he definitely has an artistic eye. You can't not have an artistic eye and make a skateboard that gorgeous, not symmetrical, and with all the details that he does.
I never really considered it an art, but I guess building the skateboards is kind of an art. You're coming up with you know, all the schemes and the painting. To me, they look like old surfboards. You're building something out of wood. You're shaping it, you're sanding it. Comes natural.
I think they're definitely pieces of art. A lot of people, some people actually buy them to just hang on the wall. Some people, they always tell us when they get the skateboards that they're almost too afraid to ride it because it's so nice. They don't want to scratch it. You know, it's kind of like your first drive in your brand new car. It's like, scratch is going to happen, but you're going to cry a little bit when it does.
Every skateboard, I would have to say, is on a personal level, because every single one, there's not one square inch of the board that I haven't touched 50 times. You know what I mean? You're always trying to get every little mark right, all the lines straight. Yeah, it's definitely something I take very personal.
He's so passionate about the process and everything that he does. And if it's not perfect, he's not done, you know? So it's just a great way for him to thrive in that passion.
One of the biggest challenges I think I face making the skateboards is to continue coming up with new designs. You can't make the same old thing, So to always have a different shape and a different design and something that doesn't look repetitious, that's my biggest challenge.
We've always been skating. You know, if there wasn't surf, then we would go skating.
Sometimes you get going real fast down steep bridges or something like that. It could be quite the adrenaline rush, like, you know, wipe in a second, but you make it, and then when you make it and everybody's watching, and you're a star for a second, you know.
It's always just kind of been involved in our lives, and it just gives you so much freedom.
My inspiration for making the skateboards right now is just the fact that so many people are still into it. I thought it was always something that would fade, and it seems to grow more than anything.
The joy that I get to see on his face when he gives someone their skateboard and they start riding it, or he's out with his friends cruising around on boards and just watching him watch them on a board he made, it's just so awesome for me. It's like awe-inspiring kind of feeling.
See, the thing that makes me the happiest is you're creating out of a couple of pieces of wood this skateboard that somebody's going to take and use and go ride to see their friends, and they're going to look at it and compare who's is faster, you know, who can do more tricks, and just the same thing that it brought to me when I was younger. Making them and getting them out there and selling them to other young kids, and it's you know, the next generation coming up, to see that all come to life again, that's an awesome feeling. That's why I keep doing it.
To learn more, visit longlineskateboards.com. And that's it for this edition of Art Rocks. Don't forget to visit us online at lpb.org/artrocks. The website offers feature videos and information on upcoming arts events. So until next time, I'm James Fox Smith, and thanks for watching.